everybody. That panel was phenomenal, the amount of things that came out of that. And I think, as everybody said, that knowledge on Comic Sans was just amazing. Joining us next, we have Megan Strant, and Megan is an organizational change consultant and MVP. She's joining us all the way from Australia, so it's either really early or really late right now, depending on which way you look at it, I suppose. Her pronouns are she and her, and Megan is going to be talking to us about hidden disability and how we can help neurodivergent people and people with mental health issues in the office. Subject very close to my heart as I suffer from anxiety and depressive mood syndrome, and it can be really overwhelming at times. So Megan, hello.
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 Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. And is it early or is it late?
It's just past midnight, but I was willing to stay up because I love this topic.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And one last thing that I wanted to say before I let you get on with your talk. I understand that when you're finished here today, it's not that long before you get to go on your first trip since the record lockdown in Melbourne.
Yes, definitely. My whole family is super excited that in about 2 days we finish work and school and we're going away, and it's been a long time.
Awesome. Well, in which case, I don't wish to steal too much more of your time. So, Megan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen and we're ready to go. So, hi everyone, and welcome to this session covering some brief ideas about driving further inclusion with technology that you use every day. What can we each do to support people with challenges that remain unseen? And how can you support hidden disability regardless if people are open and disclose it or not? So my name is Megan, and I'm a middle-aged woman with short dark brown hair with glasses, presenting from my home office in Australia. I'm a consultant focused on organisational change learning, with a majority of my focus being on Microsoft for about 10 years. And my academic background is psychology, organisational change and learning, along with certifications in project management. As a person, I'm curious and I'm passionate about human behaviour in general, particularly motivation and learning and how we form habits, along with diversity of inclusion. And also, I have myself a hidden disability. So today I want to take some time to discuss hidden disability and some things that people might be struggling with in the workplace daily that remain unseen. I want to focus not on what people with disability do to work and use tech, but focus on you and what you or I or anyone in the workplace could do to be more inclusive by tweaking some of the way we use technology. I personally have been doing my best to make my own work habits more inclusive, and I feel that each of us have a lot to learn. I'll also do my best to handle this topic objectively and try to be sensitive because it is such a complex and personal topic. So the world is diverse and we're interacting with different people every day. 1 in 6 people on the planet has a disability, and 70% of disabilities are hidden. People with disabilities worry about what other people will think. I myself personally am perhaps more open than some others, but still with caution. And it's funny, I tend to be way more open in the global forum than maybe still in my own workplace. People find ways to cover their challenges and to hide or mask. And some people suffer exhaustion from the energy that it takes to mask. We have perhaps a better sense of what it means to have a disability in the physical sense or the physical world with, we can see things like ramps and railings and those tactile buttons. And we have accommodations built into design for many products, but less so in the digital space. And this has become more important in the last 2 years with so much of our work suddenly being remote and at home. Many struggles can go unseen, and you may be unaware of how colleagues are actually struggling. There are so many things that make up a diverse workforce. There are primary characteristics of each person, such as your age, ethnicity, or physical or mental. And secondary to those, there's things like your nationality, your appearance, marital status, location, interest, education, or faith. And there's also organizational aspects like your level of your job, your function, your department, or your location. And then on top of all that is how we communicate and interact with each other, how we solve problems, how we explain things to each other, how we embrace different ideas and thinking styles, and our decision making. A key thing to consider with humans in general is our executive functions. This is a term psychologists use to describe the many tasks that our brains perform daily that are necessary for us to think and act and solve problems. Executive function includes tasks that help us learn new information, to remember and retrieve information that we've learned in the past, and we use this information to solve problems in the workplace or our everyday life. All humans use these functions every day in their work and personal life. But being someone with a disability, whether it's neurodiverse or other things, people can at times have challenges in multiple areas across our executive functions, and there can be disruptions or impact on these functions. Have a think about a really bad day or a really stressful situation. Sometimes you can feel like you're in fight or flight. Sometimes you might not have all your emotions in check, or you might struggle to prioritize or focus, or you might even have trouble accessing memories. Some situations you can be more rigid or impulsive. These are all part of our executive functions. Some days you can thrive and other days you struggle. And there are some people who struggle every single day. Thinking about our differences and how we function is important in understanding ourselves and our impact on others or their challenges. So while this is an area that I've spent time writing or speaking about previously, I took a bit of a step back with this session when I wanted to talk a bit broadly about hidden disability beyond, usually I just focus on neurodiversity in general. When I recently further researched and looked online and looked up hidden disability, I came across this list. There are so many things that we're not aware of that go unseen. And while I feel like this list is hard to look at because there's so many words on the screen, we can find different ways to categorize and further understand. So here are some of the main categories with some brief points for the challenges in each area. You can see here some things may be more obvious, and consider how others might be more hidden. Let's think about how this can play out in the workplace and an example, a telephone call or a conference call in a meeting room with people sitting around the table. So this call may be okay for a blind person who can hear, but obviously trying to listen to a phone call doesn't work for someone who's deaf. Then think about a conference call with people talking over each other. That can become disabling for some people. And voice and chat embedded in this call can feel hard for some people, while offering features that do actually support others. So it's a really complex area, and we need to recognize that disabilities can exist at many different levels. In your workplace, don't assume, oh, we don't have anyone who's blind or deaf, nothing that we can see. Therefore, we don't have anyone with a disability. Be careful of all the things that you don't know. People can have partial disabilities, and this could be related to age or maybe some damage to something like their hearing. Disability can also be acquired gradually or suddenly. So it could be due to an accident, an injury, or maybe a sudden health change. Someone who's always been fine in the workplace may be hiding the fact that they've got an ongoing increase and challenge and thing developing. And also don't think of it as singular. Some people have multiple. You know, you could be deaf and have a learning disability. You could be autistic and have an anxiety disorder. There can be many things going on. With the Microsoft content that is out there on the web, they refer to these categories, and this is the way that it's divided up to further understand. There is some really great content online driving further education and understanding, and I really recommend that you take the time to explore and equip yourself to know more about this crucial topic as part of taking the steps to be more inclusive. On this slide, I've put a QR code to a course that I highly recommend. So if you've got a moment, whip out your mobile and do the QR code. If you'd like to explore and learn more about this, I strongly recommend. It's a LinkedIn course and it's by Microsoft. And a while ago when I was trying to learn more and increase my understanding, I actually did this course. The QR code will take you to the link, and there's some modules that you can use and access to increase your own understanding. So Hidden disability is a very complex area, and it's also very delicate. We're talking about human difference and challenges that are a huge part of someone's life. And in many cases, as I've mentioned, people can be hiding or masking. And there are many reasons why people hide their experience. It isn't about getting people to share and push them to be open, because to be frank, it's not our business and they have the right to be private. But what we can do is we can help regardless. I know there isn't a quick fix and there isn't just some features on a computer that can change everything, but there are some amazing things with technology that can be the difference between someone having a job and even being more engaged in the workplace. So let's talk about what you and I can do. We can all make some minor changes in our daily work to support other people. Accessibility is an opportunity, and I challenge everyone to help create a better experience for everyone in their workplace. So how can we tweak our workplace behaviour to maybe better include others? There are 3 core areas that I want to dive into briefly. 3 things that most of us do every day. And you can see here, email, meetings, and just the way we work together. So most of us live in our email, and it's our main communication tool. We share information, we share actions, we do a lot of things with email. Do you realize that your email could be causing someone a challenge? So I've got a couple of thoughts on the screen here and things to think about. I know that there was some discussion in the previous session about font. So yes, font, colors, content. Have a think about the fact that 1 in 6 of the general population have a disability. So your email may have already been received by people who are struggling with the content, the words you use, your signature, images, the structure. So make sure you know how to do things like use the accessibility checker that's built into Outlook. It's in the review tab, and I'll show you that in a moment. It gives you updates. It warns you of where there's issues with regards to accessibility. It shows you individual corrections and fixes that are in line in the email. And it can amend auto text with image descriptions. So with your email, think about even to begin with, the template you use. Do you have banners? Do you have logos or awards? It's very common in an email signature to have visuals. And you need to add descriptions so people are not missing critical information. I've increased the default size of all the email I send to size 12 font, just so from immediately it's easy to read. And have a think about color contrast and make sure you learn about alt text to images. Here I want to just show you quickly a really quick, simple example. So you can see on my screen a really basic email. I've got an email open and some text, and I'm clicking literally in the ribbon on check accessibility, and it says no issues are found. People with disabilities should have no difficulty reading this. Let's add an image. So I'm just going to throw in there an image of a cute puppy. Now I've done nothing to that image. I just put it in the email. So it's a visual need. Let's check accessibility again, and it's already flagging. There's an issue with the picture, okay? It's important for people who can't see the screen. Screen readers read alternative text aloud. So it's important to have alt to text for an image. You can't just throw it in there. And have a look down the bottom of that image, how it says, read more about making documents accessible. So Outlook is already trying to help you and teach you and show you. So give it a go, try the links, and try to do a bit more with the thing you do every day. What's something else we do? Meetings, meetings, meetings. We live in meetings. We rely on them to progress our work, solve problems, communicate. Consider key meeting features. So firstly, smack bang in the middle of this slide is background settings or background effects. Now, while these are exciting and fun and colourful, they actually increase the cognitive load and they can impact people. So have a think about this and educate others. Try to simplify. A lot of the backgrounds that have a lot of white space. Our brain has to do a lot of work to find the visuals and the face in amongst all that colour. Okay, so it can actually add and impact people. Beyond this, start with what you've got. You've got chat, you've got raise hand, you've got mute. These features that are standard in meetings can do amazing things. And think about how these can be used for stronger facilitation and giving everyone opportunity. Extend your skills and use features to improve how inclusive your meetings are. So try then extending to PowerPoint Live, having more transcription. And then tell people the features in your meeting that they may want to utilize. Ask your colleagues on how they want to work together if they disclose that they have struggles and a disability. And consider the value of things like having your camera on. Some people rely on lip reading. However, you don't want to force people to say everyone must have their camera on because it can increase anxiety for some people, particularly if they've got a visual issue and they're leaning in really close to try and read the screen. They might be uncomfortable being on video. Remind people that there are features like captions and they can start being used if they need to. And also with meetings, simple things like recording them. Consider recording so people can view later with full captioning. Try to control the noise and try to help others, specifically because too much noise can really make it hard to filter and understand and listen. And be really careful with the chat functions. So chat isn't a sidebar conversation because you may not realize that people who are using screen reading software, it may be reading transcriptions aloud and the chat at the same time. So it can be really hard for people to hear or even just focus. Make sure you use image descriptions for GIFs and photos in any meetings as well. And really just try to get involved and model inclusion here. One thing that is really great is to use an introduction slide to set expectations in your meetings. So just a quick sample here of a great expectation slide. Okay, so structure your meetings to support everyone and make the opportunity and your content accessible and give everyone an opportunity. Now, finally, the other key area I want to touch on, just quickly to give some quick things you can do, is the way you work together. There are so many things you can do, and I could spend ages talking about one topic like documents and accessibility, but I want to consider how we work together in general. So obviously, have accessible documents, use color contrast, and make this organization-wide if you can. This is key. Every organization should be across this. But what about the other ways we work? So if you think about things like neurodiversity and mental health or a learning disability, people with these challenges can struggle by starting tasks or completing work with communication and staying focused. So working together can be so important in how you track expectations, goals, team tasks, and get stuff done. Remember back to executive functions. Some people struggle with organization and stress and memory. So think about task management and the benefit of apps and things to alert people, track detail and everything. And then another key thing is even just notifications and etiquette. So think about how we impact others when we constantly send chats when maybe they're in focus mode or working. A couple of quick things to show you here. So firstly, I've got an old document open. Remember, accessibility is in the ribbon, easy for you to use and check. So do this and use it in your documents and try to include others by making your content more accessible. You can see that it brings up the issues and you can try and make an effort to make things better. And finally, task management. So here we have Planner. So Planner is a great tool and we can look at tasks, but have a think about rather than having a list of actions in a document or however you do them. I love that in Planner that I can sort by due date so I can really zone in on what do I need to do, what's overdue or what's assigned to me. That could make someone's day because it's really clear on what needs to get done. So use the tools to work together with clarity, efficiency. While we can't remove someone's challenges, we can do something to make a positive impact. So remember, chances are you may already be working with someone who has a hidden disability. So doing a little can make a big impact on someone's day. Just do it by default, not just when you think you need to. Consider best practices for yourself and your organization and educate yourself and, if you can, others. I have another QR code here, so whip out your mobile if you want to know more. I have a blog that's quite detailed, and that's where this will link you to, going into this sort of information in detail with a whole lot of links to content to teach you more. So thank you very much. That's my session. And hopefully that was insightful and gave you some quick things to think about to try and make a difference. Little by little, we can each try and do more. Do we have any questions or shall we just move on to the next session?
We have some questions. Yep, there we go. I can see. Hopefully you can hear me now, and hopefully the people at home can hear me now. We've got time for a couple of questions that have come in. I mean, first that I have It's more of a comment than a question. Something that you really triggered me with is in Teams calls when you're talking over each other. That is something that I struggle with that in person. If I'm in a meeting and you've got two groups talking, then I hear nothing. It's not that I hear one over the other, I just don't hear any of them, and I might as well not be there. And we've noticed on Teams meetings that gets amplified to the nth degree because the way that Teams works with sounds is just awful. So I just wanted to bring that one up because you triggered me in your talk with that one. One question that I wanted to ask you, and that is, how do you feel organizations can help their staff when they're trying to learn these new features to support people with disabilities?
I think definitely organizations need to think of their own best practices, and providing things for staff like making templates by default accessible, but also getting leaders to role model. Once there's that flow on effect, once someone tries to structure a meeting and role model great inclusion with tech, it can really try to flow through the organization. And even things being non-negotiable, like all our meetings have ABC, trying to really structure it so it's easier for people and rolled out and it's just part of the culture.
Awesome. Make it become the default setting.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think we're out of time, unfortunately, but I want to thank you for an amazing talk, for joining us at such an, I'm going to say an early time, since it's after midnight for you in the morning. And well, I wish you an awesome trip.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the session.
Thank you. Bye-bye.